Okay, so this week's going to look a little bit different. I don't necessarily think that you need to take notes. I think it's more just paying attention and watching the video. So I don't really want you to take notes. I want you just to watch the video, rewatch if you need to rewatch video. And just kind of pay attention to some things that I do. What we're going to be doing this week is looking at word problems and turning them into equations and then solving some of these word problems. So we're going to start out super simple with one-step word problems. The hardest part about these is there's no real set steps that you do. Normally on a math problem, you do this first and then this and then this, and it's like that for every single problem. But these word problems, it's not really like that. We just kind of have to read through the problem and decode what's going on. So we have Lisa's cooking muffins. The recipe calls for 7 cups of sugar. She has already put 2 cups in. How many more cups does she need? Now, typically when we see how many more, we think of subtraction. But that's not how we write the equation. So what we have to do is think about, okay, what are we starting with? We're starting with the fact that the question is asking how many more cups. So that is going to represent X. When we look at the question will tell us what the variable is that we don't know because that's what the question's asking. So we know we're starting with 2 cups. We've already got 2 cups in, and we need a total of 7 cups. Now, how we go from 2 to 7? By adding X. X is the number of more cups that we need. So this would be your equation. 2 plus some more that we need equals the total of 7. And so then when we solve, we bring this down and we end up subtracting. So X equals 5. Now understand that you could probably do that in your head and that's okay. But we're gonna write these out every time. Next one says, at a restaurant, Mike and his 3 friends decided to divide the bill evenly. If each person paid $13, then what was the total bill? So, first of all, we need to understand that it's Mike and his 3 friends. So altogether, there was a total of 4 of them that ate. That's important. Now, it says, what was the total bill? So that represents X. So when you go to a restaurant and you decide to pay, you look at the bill. So the bill comes first. The total bill, which we don't know, it could be $50, it could be, who knows. The total bill is what we start with. And then we're going to divide it among the people who ate, which would be 4. And when they took the total bill and they divided it by 4, they got the answer that each person is going to pay $13. So this would be your equation to go along with that word problem. And then to solve, we would bring it down here. Multiply on both sides because this is division. And we would get X equals $52. So the total bill was $52. That makes sense because if you take 52 and divide it by 4, you're going to get 13. Okay, next question says, how many packages of diapers can you buy with $40 if one package costs $8? So the question says, how many packages of diapers can you buy? So that represents the X. So if I have $8 for each pack, I don't know how many packages, but I do know that represents X. So $8 for each pack. Multiply those 2 together. And it says with $40. So we don't want to spend any more than $40. So the money we're spending here has to equal $40. So that would be your equation. So when we go down here to solve, 8x equals 40. Divide by 8 on both sides. Again, you probably can do this in your head. X is 5. So we could buy 5 packages at $8 a piece. Now the last one for one step is after paying $5.12 for a salad, Nathan has $27.10. How much money did he have before buying the salad? So we want to know how much he had before the salad. So if you think about the process of going into a restaurant, you go in with money. We don't know how much money he went in with, so we're going to put that as X. But then he paid for a salad. So the money he had, we have to take away the amount for the salad. And then whenever he left the store, he ended up with $27.10 in his pocket. So you kind of have to think about the process of going into somewhere and buying food. That would be your equation. Then when we come down here to solve, we can do this, 27.10, and then what we end up doing is taking the amount that we paid for the salad and adding it back on to how much we had. And we end up with X equals $32.22, which makes sense because we should have more money before for X than we do after the salad. Okay, those are one step. So now we're going to look at two steps. And again, there's really no rhyme or reason for each one of these. You just kind of have to read through the problem. It says, you bought a magazine for $5 and 4 erasers. You spent a total of $25. How much did each eraser cost? So the question is asking how much did each eraser cost? So that would be our X, because we don't know. That's why the question is asking us that. So the first thing we did, we bought a magazine for $5. Plus, we bought 4 erasers, but we don't know how much they cost. So we're going to put an X there with the 4 to multiply when we do find out the cost. And then when we came up to the cashier, we spent a total of $25. So there would be your equation. So then we take it down here to solve. 5 plus 4x equals 25. Subtract 5 on both sides. 4x equals 20. Divide by 4, divide by 4. So x would equal 5. Now, just so you know, this is addition, so you can switch this around. It can say 4x plus 5 equals 25. That's okay. It can switch around. But the 4 has to be with the x, and the 5 has to be the constant. All right, let's look at this question. Sam won 40 super bouncy balls playing horseshoes at her school's game night. Later, she gave 2 to each of her friends. So she gave 2 to each of her friends. Important that we pay attention. It says gave. She now only has 8 remaining. How many friends does she have? So that's going to represent our x, the number of friends. So we start with 40 bouncy balls. We give away 2 to each of her friend. Now, we don't know how many friends she has. That's x. So 2 to each friend. Each is a multiplication word. And she now has 8 left. So this is her start. This is what she gave away. And this is what she has left. Okay, so there's your equation. Then we take it down here to solve. 40 minus 2x equals 8. Let's take away 40 from both sides. We get negative 2x equals, signs are different, so I subtract, take the sign of the larger number, negative 32. Now I know it seems weird to have a negative number because we're talking about bouncy balls, but when we divide by negative 2 on this side and divide by negative 2 on this side, these two negatives go away, and that gives us x equals 16. So she had 16 friends that she gave away bouncy balls to. Okay, Isabel spent half of her weekly allowance playing mini golf. To earn some more money, so we're adding money, her parents let her wash the car for $4. What is her weekly allowance if she ended with $12? So what is her weekly allowance? That's what we're trying to figure out. That's x. So let's just talk about what she did first. Isabel spent half of her weekly allowance. So if I have my weekly allowance and I take half of it, that's the same thing as dividing by 2. So I spent half of my weekly allowance. That's gone. But then I washed the car, so I'm adding more money to me. $4, and I end up with 12 altogether. So let's figure out how much money her weekly allowance was. This would be your equation. And then when we pull it down here to solve, subtract 4 from both sides. X divided by 2 equals 12 minus 4 is 8. Then this is division, so I'm going to multiply by 2. Multiply by 2, and X equals 16. So what she got as her each week allowance is $16. She spent half of that at the mini golf, so that would be $8. And then she added $4 to her, which would be the $12 that we're looking for. Okay, last one. For a field trip, 4 students rode in cars, and the rest filled 9 buses. How many students were in each bus? And there was a total of 472 students on the trip. Okay, so I know that my total has to be 472 because that's my total students. If 4 students rode in the car, and then I add, the 9 has to go in here somehow, 9 buses. But the question is, how many were in each bus? I don't know that, so that's gonna be my X. So if I take the 4 students plus the 9 buses with I don't know how many students, I'm supposed to get 472. Now, you can switch this around. It can be 9x plus 4 equals 472. That is fine. But when we go down here to solve, 4 plus 9x equals 472. Subtract 4 from both sides. You get 9x equals 468. Divide by 9 on both sides, and X equals 52. That makes sense because a bus would hold about 52 students. You don't need to submit your notes for this week because you didn't take any notes if you listened to the beginning of the video. Just watch and re-watch if you need to, and move on to the activities for this week.